slices of pie. Well, I can't hear you. You're on mute. I see that microphone in the middle. Hit your mute button. I can't hear you.
Oh, hold on.
Okay,
Okay,
now I
I'm
can hear
sorry. I
you.
hit the button.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm sorry. I hit the button. I was asking, can you see this chart?
Yes, not everything. I see power and control in the eight slices of pie.
Yeah, so you got on this they use intimidation, they use
Mhm.
emotional abuse, isolation,
Mhm.
minimizing, denying, and blaming. They use children, use male privilege,
Mhm.
treating you like a servant, making all the big decisions,
Mhm.
use economic abuse and coercion and threats.
Mhm.
Um, but I wanted to share that because a lot of people don't know, like they just think it's physical, but
Physical,
there's so
right?
many things.
Yes.
I'm glad you got out because leaving is the most dangerous part. It's so much. I don't know where to go with it because you said so much. I wanted to talk about, like, I had a question to ask you.
Mhm.
But I did want to talk about, oh, I wanted to ask you, out of all this stuff because before this happened, you had a life of your own. You was dancing. You was over there with Tyler Perry at the church. You were
Singing,
doing
dancing, working with the
dancing.
youth ministry. I was in school and work. I just stayed busy. But yeah.
So, and then you meet this person and you get married. What do you feel you lost in through that relationship?
An opportunity to be a mother. And I've always said that um, it wasn't meant for me to have this child
Mm-hmm.
because I never had a pregnancy scare ever. We were
Mm-hmm.
married 16 years. Well, we were together 15, but I'm married 16. I never had a pregnancy scare.
Mm-hmm.
Never got pregnant. Nothing, no miscarriage, nothing. So I believe that, and I wanted twins, believe it or not. I've always wanted twins since high school. I was like, I want a boy and a girl. I want twins, a boy and a girl. So I can get it over with all at the same time. But that that opportunity to be a mother and the opportunity to I feel like my life was wasted with
Mm-hmm.
one person. Um, I felt that it was a lot of time wasted that I know I can't get back. That I
Mm-hmm.
could have been with someone else who valued me and appreciated me and treated me like a queen and respected me as a woman, as a human, and as his wife.
Mm-hmm.
That I did not get. And when you
Mm-hmm.
said you were told you were beautiful, I was never told I was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Been dressed up, looking good, going out. You know, we did things and stuff like that, but I never got, oh, you look beautiful, you look beautiful, you look gorgeous. I never got. Don't you know I had to go and look in the mirror many times just to remind myself how beautiful I was?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things I feel I wasted, I've lost
Mm-hmm.
during that whole time period. Time, the opportunity to be a mother, wasted time, energy. But I also remember reading something on, was it Twitter or Threads? It was one of the two, and it said something. Oh, it might probably one of my Woke Stokes who posted it saying it was one of my Lynn. It was one of my Woke Stokes, Lynn, who posted a comment stating that never regret how you love a person because at that point At that time, it was a lot type of love that they really, really needed, and
Mm-hmm.
that really resonated with me. And I felt that okay, well, he probably really needed the kind of love that I gave him, even though it was taken for granted, and abused and used. But it was the kind of love that he needed. That's the kind of love that I gave because that's the kind of love that I offer. And that's just me, my core. And that's all I could do. And just continue to be me and love the way I love. And with no, I had to learn to not regret that. And that comment helped me. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I
Mm-hmm.
think like for the last year and a half, I've been dealing with that. I'm in single mother by choice groups,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't even shared that. This is my first time sharing that publicly. Like, just been thinking about becoming a mom on my own
Mm-hmm.
because of going through situations like that. I was like, if I would have, and that's the blessing in it because God didn't allow it. It's sad, but it wouldn't been a lot sadder if you would have had a child with somebody like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd
Because
be stuck for life.
and the drag that's another form of abuse. People using court to bring you back and forth to court and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Yeah,
now you got child support. You got this. I'm gonna
yeah,
take custody. Like
yeah.
that
That would
would
have
have
been
took
another
from your
level.
life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
don't feel bad. You are gorgeous. You're beautiful.
Thank
Even
you. And you are
you.
too, my
Oh,
darling.
thank you. I'm trying.
You are.
I'm really praying
You
for it.
are.
But thank you. I even on my wedding day, no, you look
You were so
beautiful. Not,
beautiful. You didn't get that on your wedding? Well, me either, honey. From you, from other
yeah, yeah,
people, but
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
mean, from other people I did,
yeah,
but from
but
the person who
the
is
person
supposed to
you
matter.
exactly. Girl,
Hmm.
we experienced the same thing.
Yeah, but
It's
so
amazing.
many people are doing it, and um, I wanted to just kind of tell you that when you say this person needed this love, one thing that always keeps me going through any kind of toxic relationship or any kind of trauma is when you know that you're loving somebody out of a pure place,
Hmm.
karma. Because everybody think karma is bad. Karma is good.
Good.
I look at karma
Yeah.
like if I'm loving you from a pure place and you take advantage of it, I'm gonna get that love back. Somebody's
Hmm.
gonna come and
Somebody.
love me.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna get that love back. I think
Hmm.
it's important too for us to recognize that men go through this too
Yeah,
with
they do.
women.
They do.
And I think one big thing, choosing a partner that is that's a huge thing for your life because your partner can make or break you. Your
Yeah.
partner, you could be. I've known some great men that can do some great things, and they got these women that's super jealous, super. I
Yeah.
don't do that, don't do that, and then
Hmm.
it's pulling them away from who they were created to be,
Yeah.
and they don't even look at it as abuse, or they may know it is,
Hmm.
but because of manhood, they can't talk about it. And I might get a guy on here to talk about it too.
That would be
And
great.
yeah, I found a great resource for men, and I'm gonna share that later. Um, I also wanted to ask you. Okay, I hear what you lost, but can you tell me what you gained by leaving this relationship?
By leaving, I gained more self love, more independence, more focus on learning to focus more on me. I've learned, I've gained um, more insight on what to expect. I gained more insight in my spiritual discernment has gotten sharper as to how to uh, discern those narcissistic personalities and to avoid them. So the freedom, I gained freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I gained a lot of happiness and joy, inner joy that I've always had that I never lost. I never lost that joy,
Mm-hmm.
even though he tried to suppress it or make it, you know, whatever he tried to do. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't prosper, honey.
It
It
did.
didn't
Okay.
prosper
It didn't prosper.
that joy, but I gained a lot of freedom and more self love and more self. Um, um,
I want you to
concept,
see.
increasing self concept.
I don't know if you can see that. I wrote that down when I was going to ask you. I said, she going to say self-love and the importance. And that's what you said.
Yes, yes,
See how God works. I
yeah.
knew it's like, and the only reason I wrote it down was because that's what I see in you.
hmm
I see the
Oh,
self
thank
love
you.
and the importance,
Yes.
and for you to validate that, and you didn't
hmm
even know I wrote that. Like,
Oh.
but I wrote that at the beginning of our conversation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I said I'm gonna ask her this while you were telling your journey. I
Uh-huh.
said I'm gonna ask her this, and
hmm
I said I want to tell her that she's I see the self love and the value,
Yes.
and that's what you said.
Yes.
So I wanted to piggyback on that and ask you, how did you keep that resilience? Because a lot of women, I'm in some domestic violence groups on Facebook,
hmm
and these women are having a hard time. How did you keep that light?
I'm laughing because my a friend of mine, Dawn, she always mentioned that as well as far as my strength in the midst of all of that. How I kept it, I prayed a lot. I kept my sense of humor. I had wonderful friends who prayed, who were my prayer warriors. But my most, and I stayed, I continued to read the word, I continued to go to church, but my most joyful, heartfelt, passionate thing that kept me going was dance.
Mm-hmm.
The dance ministry. That was my heart. That was my everything. I went to school. Yeah, I went to college while in Atlanta. I went to Clayton State University and Argosy University. But what kept my life was definitely God, staying connected to Him, praying all the time, having the right friends in my corner. And the right friends are the ones who prayed for you, prayed with you, and who were non judgmental. Because, some people you can talk to, let's say some women, they talk to their friends and they be like, girl, you shouldn't let him do that. Oh, girl, if I were you, I wouldn't do it. No, I didn't have friends like that. My friends understood. They looked at both sides, not just my side. Okay, they looked at both sides, his side and my side, and always told me, well, Trina, whatever you decide, I'm with you. So I had people like that in my corner, and not many, two, no, three. I had three, you know, Peter, James, and John.
Yeah.
Jesus had his top three, So and so and again, listening to the word, and then Bishop Martin and his, and the way he preached, he always did reach my spirit since New Orleans, and kept me spiritually strong because the church is a spiritual hospital. So I constantly went there. But again, my heart, my passion that can continue to give me that light was the dance ministry, doing the craft. Something that I'm passionate about, the dance, the creativity of it all, choreographing and being just involved and ministering with people such as yourself, my fellow laborers in the vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kept my life. That's what kept me going. That's what, and honestly, that was one of the things I personally believe he was jealous of. He said he wasn't jealous, but when we had uh, certain things that was really big that for me, like our dance concert at Greater Travelers Rest, that one, my dance, when I was going to minister in Albany, Georgia, and when I was going to Germany to minister. Those three things stick out right now in my head because they were major, major events. Now, for the dance concert, dance workshop at Greater St. Stephen, that was fine. I mean, at Changing Generation in Atlanta, that was fine. But these three, the devil always jumped in him right before these three major events. And he cut up like a big dog. And so, and not just those three things. And it was like always arguing. I was like, what? It was so minor. And I always saw it as the devil coming in to destroy my life because he knows I have a job to do with
Mm-hmm.
this concert in Albany, Georgia. Because I was in Albany, I had to minister, give a little sermon as well as minister in dance. And my sermon was get it together. And in going to Germany, I had to do a 3-day workshop, but I was staying there for a week, ministering and helping and teaching and stuff like that as well. So those were like major things. So that is what kept me going. It's just my love for dance, especially for the Lord and doing it all. And like I said, a lot of times I knew that he was jealous of it, and he used to make a comment like something we were going somewhere, and I'm a timely person, and so I was still getting a few things together. We weren't late, but he was ready to go. He said, I bet you if it was dance, you'll be out of here. I was like, see, there you go. Yeah, why you throwing dance in here? Why you throwing dance in here?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was always that. So, and then it took up a lot of my time. When you now he used to be a choir director, so you think he would understand how much rehearsals are needed, the time is needed to go to the rehearsals to the church, and it was only once a week. That of my time, I'm away from home, but that was my core passion. That was my core energy, and that's what kept me going. That's what kept me happy, and that's what kept my light shining, and the people around me outside the home.
I mean that narcissists or abusive people, they are jealous of you, and they try to. And I don't want to say it like I'm just dissing these people, because at the end of the day, they're still human beings,
Mhm.
right? They just
Mhm.
have something going on.
They just
So
have
I'm
issues.
not, yeah, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, my ex did a bunch of wrong stuff.
Mhm.
Your ex did a bunch of wrong stuff,
Mhm.
and it was wrong.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, they're a person that is going through a struggle, and that's when you have to realize how lucky, how blessed, how divinely protected you are,
Yeah.
how chosen you are, because you are not going like that. Could have been
Yeah.
us, but God saw fit to make our hearts different, right?
Yes.
And that's the good part of it. And you segued into something that I had wrote down in the beginning.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
About talking about, remember in the beginning I said we're going to come back to
Mhm.
it, and that was spiritual warfare and dance. I don't know if you can see it, that's on my thing. Spiritual warfare
Wow.
and dance.
Wow.
That's why I prefer
Yes.
to have an authentic conversation and nothing made
Mhm.
up,
Mhm.
because I put spiritual warfare and dance versus domestic violence, which would be a
Mm.
great topic for you to cover. Yes,
Ooh.
yes, ma'am, for you to cover.
Yes. Mm.
Because they are linked, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
when you do the level of ministry that we were doing in dance,
Mhm.
that is a minister. A lot of people think it's just swinging a flag and ha ha ha, but
Right.
it's your colors. You got to hear from God. It's your movements.
Mhm.
It's your fasting for a
Mhm.
week
Yep.
before, just so you
Fasting
can
and
be,
praying.
yeah, so
Mhm.
you can be used by God, right?
Mhm.
It's a lot of people don't know biblically that before the war they would send out the praise and worship team, right?
Mhm.
And because of praise and worship and dance,
Mhm.
they ain't even they didn't get to the war part
Mm-mm.
because the praise and worship knocked everything out.
Yes.
So when
Yes.
you talk about that and dance, and I hear your love and your passion for dance, and
Mhm.
I have experienced it.
Mhm.
Um, I think I sent you a picture. It might be in my other room. I still got my package that you sent us. I got the emails that.
Yeah, you showed it to. I was like, wow, I forgot all about it. You still got it.
You know why? Because that's a part of your book, and I knew I was gonna have to give it back to you. Even
Yes.
then, that's how God works. See, people can
Wow.
judge you and they say, well, she do this and she do that. She's not of the spirit. But when
Mhm.
You know God, right? When was
Mhm.
that? When was we at Great Travelers Rest when I started? That
It was
was
in
13,
2009,
14,
11,
2009. I've been holding that
11,
book
something like that.
2000.
Mhm.
I think it's 2009.
9.
I've been holding that
Yeah.
book 2009. I've been holding that book,
Wow.
but even but God had me keep that because I knew that it was going to be a book for you.
Mm.
And it is not even it's going to be, because it's already a part of your book that you
Yes.
already have.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we can get stuff called new edition where we add to
Yes.
it. Okay. So
Exactly.
so like I've been holding that since 2009 because of my love for you, my faith, like the knowledge that's in it
Oh wow.
is,
Yeah.
and that's a testament to who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel spiritual warfare and dance? Because you know we go through it, and your
Yes.
ex used to cut up. And when you say
Yeah.
your ex would cut up before those things, all
Oh,
I could think
oh
about
my
is that
God.
Easter piece we did where you were doing the demon, da,
Yeah.
da, 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 where
Yes.
we
Angels and
actually, me,
demons.
you, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
me, you, and Aisha got a
Aisha.
award for that.
We
A
got an
medal.
award. We
Yeah, we got first place. You took us to like outside
did.
event,
Girl, I
and
forgot.
we and I messed up so much that night because my mom had died, and we walked away with the first place. Mm-hmm.
I remember
Off
now.
that piece.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember. It was a community center, like
Yeah.
within an elderly community center, but it was the event they used that venue.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember, y'all.
And they had some great dancers, ministers
Yes,
there,
they
and
did. They did.
we were
That
just the three.
warfare.
And the point of it, it's a piece,
It's a piece.
meaning like you need a whole bunch of elements, but
Uh-huh.
we
Mm-hmm.
we went just the three of us, and
Mm-hmm.
God, like, we transformed that place,
Y'all
even
did.
mistakes and all,
Y'all
and
did.
walked away.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't even remember your mistakes. So
I,
that, and I should have had a keen eye.
yeah. But what would you say spiritual warfare versus domestic violence? How do you feel they are related?
They're related because it's all spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And like to go rewind a little bit for a greater saint, well, changing the generation in Atlanta when I did my first dance workshop. Before I did that, Pastor Rod Lumpkin, he did his workshop, and well, actually, he did his after I did mine, and he had me to speak, and I actually talked about the dance ministry and spiritual warfare. And I'm gonna share with you the link. It's on my little YouTube, in the little green. I think I have it on my Facebook, on my Instagram page. But anyway, so I did talk about that, and how we're on the front lines. What you mentioned earlier, we all on the front lines and preparing for the battle spiritually for church. But spiritual warfare and domestic violence are the same. They're in the same bubble because it's a spiritual thing. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, against principalities and high places. So it's a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual being because those who are individuals who possess the spirit of violence, among others, whether it's emotional, physical, verbal, mental, that's a spiritual demon within them that they need to deal with, that they're possessing within them. And with the spiritual warfare of it's again, it's God and the devil, and like with Job, there's those two. Like Job, the devil wanted Job, and God, he went to God and tried to get permission of, can I mess with Job? Did God say you can do anything you want to do with Job, but don't touch his soul? So that's on a
Mm,
spiritual level. So a lot of people won't get this because they're carnal. They're not on that spiritual level, or if they're a little spiritual, they may get it a little bit. But a lot of people won't get this and won't understand this. But it's a spiritual thing. We're human beings, and we're spiritual beings in human flesh. And so many people have the demonic spirits in them, and many people have that godly spirit in them. Because in heaven there was, God cast out Satan and his little armies, right? So where did they
mm,
come? They came right here on earth. So right now they doing their little thing. So they in human flesh doing their little thing, and
mm-hmm,
so they're one and the same because it's all within them, the individual that's doing certain things, and you know them by their fruit. when they bear good fruit, you'll see it in their works, and you'll see it in their actions. You see it in how they treat people. You see it in how they talk to people. If they speak to people nicely and with respect and positively, that's of God, because God is not the author of confusion. God doesn't tear people down. God is not about that. God is about positivity. But if you see someone that's on the opposite end, that's a different that's demonic. That's a demonic, that's a workers of the devil, doing mean and evil things to people, mischievous things, manipulative things, just to destroy. Because work of the enemy is to seek, kill, and destroy. So with the warfare part, that's why, as you mentioned earlier, it's important to every once in a while, you gotta fast and pray. And there's no way to fight things and fight people. Uh, you can't do it in the flesh. A lot of times you want to do it in the flesh, pow pow, but sometimes you have to step back and let God fight your battle. And
Mm-hmm.
as you step back and let God fight your battle, you have to still constantly pray in the spirit and ask God to say, "Yeah, God, I'll give it to you. You can handle it better than I can. You can handle this person better than I can. Yeah, revenge is yours, you say. You say, revenge is mine, thus said the Lord. I could get revenge, but you get revenge on people better than I can. So you just have to step back. So with the warfare part, you have to fast, you got to pray, and you have to constantly, and when you fast and pray, it sharpens your spiritual discernment. Your spiritual discernment and knowing, okay, who's with you, who's for you, who's not for you, who's of God and who's not of God, who's of his spirit and who's not of his spirit. And that way you'll know how to fight and what weapons you should use spiritually in fighting individuals. So when going through domestic violence or individuals who may be dealing with this or in the situation now, with their husband or even boyfriends and living with them and don't know how to get out, you have to start praying, reading God's word, and fasting. Because with the fasting, it cleanses, it purges your whole system and gives you a clearer mind and also a clearer ear, spiritual ear to hear from God, and for God to be able to tell you what to do and how to do it, and then reassure you to trust Him in all that you need from Him to give you your way of escape. Because God always provides a way of escape. He always does.
Ashe.
So
Mm-hmm.
they go hand there in the same bubble because it's all a spiritual thing. Domestic violence is somebody who's possessing their domestic spirit in them to impose harm on someone else, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally. So yeah, it's one and the
I
same.
think that's beautiful, like everything
Mm-hmm.
you said, but it's beautiful because it describes everything perfectly. I think when you're in domestic violence, the spiritual side of it, because a lot of times, and even in psychology, abusers is they choose what is called an empath. An
Mm-hmm.
empath is also a light worker. Somebody is kind of like resembles an angel, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're and ooh, speak God. And if you resemble an angel and that the devil is an angel, y'all
Yeah.
both from the same kingdom.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
God. But one is not of the light and one is of the light.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's still war. It's
Mm-hmm.
a war going on over you, and it's a war
Mm-hmm.
going on in your life,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just the way it goes. But what is God preparing for you in that battle? A lot of times we think stuff is happening to us, but it's happening for us. If I
Mm-hmm.
just went and just stayed where I was, then I would be dead, because I literally was going to kill myself the
Mm-hmm.
day my best friend called, and I hadn't spoken 2 years, and all he said was, "Are you okay?" That was
Mm.
God.
Wow.
You
That was
see what I
God.
mean?
Yes.
So God always has that ram in the
Yes.
bush, if that's what people want to call it. God
Mm-hmm.
always has that miracle or that answer
Mm-hmm.
for you. You
Mm-hmm.
have to tap in,
Yes.
right? And it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a war,
Yeah.
because it's not. a person's fault that they're going through this war,
No.
because it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is the light and somebody is the darkness.
Yes.
Which one are you? If you're the light, then you know what's coming for you, and
Yes.
you got to be prepared for it. You said earlier with your spiritual warfare and stuff, you said, I like doing the you said you like dance in the spiritual warfare because you like putting the pieces together. And when I
Mm-hmm.
heard you say that, I'm like, okay, she like putting the pieces together. Then you said, I like the choreography. I got choreography, and then I asked God. It's,
Mm-hmm.
and when you were saying that, all I was getting was that's the escape plan. The
Mm-hmm.
escape plan is the choreography,
Yes.
and you gotta include God in
Yes.
it. So your dancing is an escape
Yeah.
from domestic violence,
It
and
was.
I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
how you, because a lot of times people don't. That's one thing that I want to talk about:
Uh-huh.
domestic violence in the
Uh-huh.
church. And look at how God just gave you a whole platform of, it's been there, but your eyes are being open to something else, because your dance, we know that we break chains, but
Mm-hmm.
even on the domestic violence level, like, do you know who you could change with that? I'm gonna
Mm.
tell you something.
Mm.
When you were speaking just now, and I don't say things like, I don't